Wabbajack is an automatic mod installing tool, with ever-changing lists from various creators. But if you are seeking something with stylized look, the answer currently is Tales from the Northern Lands. It doesn't drastically change the combat, or add much of new content. Not even the legacy of the Dragonborn Museum, which is almost standard these days. Instead, Northern Lands brings that vanilla plus experience with unique look and professional execution. By far the biggest draw for the Northern Lands is its Borderlands / Telltale game looks, and Gans has done an amazing job with it. You recognize where you are, but everything looks a bit off. Like returning to that childhood town after years, everything has grown and lived without you. Nothing doesn't quite match how I remember it. And it's fitting, since depending on which version you played, it might be over a decade when you first time adventured in Skyrim. Nexus is full of mods that make Skyrim look stunningly realistic. And while I enjoy using them time to time, I'm usually drawn to the more stylized games. Using Northern Lands has already filled my screenshot folder more than the previous playthroughs, since things seem to pop out more and I keep noticing details that before got lost in the view. In my opinion, Skyrim's dated animations, especially the speech ones, feels more fitting here compared to realistic lists, where they do stand out. On the topic of animations, Northern Lands add plenty. 64 mods are included under that flag, and they cover almost, if not everything. Weapon animations from unarmed to staff attacks, player movement fixes and race-based animations, drinking, sitting, sleeping, idling, jumping, looting, talking, eating. Everything seems to have animations tied to them. And they do add a nice little touch to the third person. A bit disorienting on the first person though, especially when the game zooms you in by itself. But this seems to only happen at the first action in the loaded cell, and even then, not every time. Few of these animations do affect gameplay. You don't instantly loot, lockpick, gather herbs, eat or drink potions, and the game doesn't pause either. It's all part of the role-playing experience. But then again, you can change settings however you please, if you don't mind changing Lucas's vision. I don't know if he actually minds, but the list shows that he has put great care to it. Using Wabbajack and moving some folders and changing settings as the guide tells you is a huge upgrade from following the step-by-step guide how to install each mod in the list of over 500, or trying to mod from ground up yourself. But with Northern Lands, it felt a little premium when all I had to do was press install and then launch the game. Lastly, on the visual side, as important as the first two are, is the UI. From the list we can see few standard names that act as a base of the UI. Immersive HUD, More HUD, Sky HUD, and Sky UI. On top of that, there are a couple less familiar mods, and few new encounters for me, that together creates my favorite Skyrim UI to date. Bars are easily readable and in the same corner. The right corner gives you simple information that saves your tab key, and right above that is a clean loot history window. Compass is less intrusive, and I haven't found myself staring it and aligning myself with the quest objectives, like I did with vanilla UI. Most of the time I even forget it's there. Information is shown when needed, and stealth indicator has changed to more modern style. Fonts are changed, level ups redesigned, and hotkeys shown with the press of a button. One of the biggest additions for me was the inclusion of minimap, and the world map itself is the most beautiful version I've ever seen, drawn by Musti. And for a long-time MMO player, the cherry on top is the overhead health bars and damage numbers that makes Skyrim feels a bit more like home. How is the gameplay then? Like I said earlier, Northern Lands doesn't use any of the quest mods, due restrictions to vanilla assets. but includes a few expansions to the vanilla quests, and there are 8 new dungeons made by Easyrider. As you might expect, all the perks are overhauled, and there is also unarmed tree. Perks are not the only thing that is overhauled, but so is werewolves, vampires, shouts, alchemy, magic, companion limits, and of course audio. Though biggest change above all is the enchanting, that is made more MMO, Diablo, Borderlands, take your pick style. Loot is divided to basic, enchanted, rare, epic and legendary tiers, based on their enchant power and amount of their effects. I haven't played long enough to tell about long-term balance issues, but when I woke up in the pre-destroyed Helgen, I took right and made my way straight to Riften. While debating on the gates that I should be let in, some Imperials attacked the guards, and I was left to reap the benefits. This may tell something about the game's difficulty later on the road, but as Lucas wrote, if you need a perfectly balanced list, this 9999% isn't for you. I make sure that things work, and that there are no big obvious exploits. I tried not to break the balance too much when I overhauled the way the inventory system worked, so I had to write a code in the Overhaul patcher to adjust the magic effects that affect those systems to keep them in line with my changes. But I won't micromanage leveled lists or nerf some of the crazy enchantments the generator will provide for this list. The end goal of this list is to be fun and not a challenge or torture. To match the increased amount of enchants, Northernlands includes new weapon skins and types like spears, halberds, kites and many more, really making me feel good for choosing to go unarmed. While combat largely stays the same, how you gain levels does change. The experience only gained from completing quests, exploring locations, clearing dungeons and killing enemies. Skill caps are also tied to your level, so no more grinding stealth to 100 at level 1. To help with the lower XP gains, each town now has a bounty board for some radiant quest for you. The last mechanic I wanna touch on is the new inventory system that's handmade to the list by Luca using Nogok's synthetic tool. You might have noticed that my carry weight is low, but in Northernlands Misk items are weightless, and equipment weight is more or less standardized. Even if you find too many interesting weapons on your travels, extra dimensional storage gives you unlimited storage accessible from anywhere and shared with every character you play with. Again, not perfectly balanced, but you can always set your own rules and restrictions for yourself. Performance-wise, Northernlands is lighter end of the list to use, and comes with performance profile if balance feels too choppy. Over my 23 hours and counting playtime that I've spent mostly, if not exclusively in cities, I've encountered 5 crashes, where one of them was repeatable. This was swiftly sorted, fixed, patched by Lucas, and he has been nothing but helpful on my encounters with him. The other 4 crashes I'd say were random hiccups, or Bethesda being Bethesda. There is many more small changes in the list, but I can't go through every single one from the list of 539 mods. But if this even slightly piqued your interest, I warmly encourage you to give it a try. If you or your loved ones find this video pleasant or amusing, please seek the closest like button and press it. If the feeling continues, do consider subscribing to the channel. TheyCallMeMusti is not liable to create similar type of content in the future, but will stay in the gaming topic. By commenting, you give valuable feedback to the creator.